Doug, we could talk forever, and I hope we can talk again, perhaps when you release your next book. But you're plainly doing everything you can with very considerable both talent and verve to establish the importance and to carry forward the importance of very solid scholarship and debate. Let me ask you to perhaps round out our conversation by referring to an interesting aspect. You talked about Neil Ferguson. He's just recently endorsed the University of Austin, a new university, with a stunning lineup of people who are associated with it. There's some real horsepower there because, as he says, the old university seemed beyond redemption. Without buying into that particular debate, I'd just be interested on how you see the best way forward, because plainly we need to equip as many of our young as best possible for the emerging global realities. The longer people are allowed to live in some sort of delusional torpor about global realities, as though the only thing confronting us is climate change. We needn't even go there to simply make the observation there are many other challenges. I mean, the one thing I'd say about global warming in this context, or climate change, would be to say, I can't imagine how you'd ever get any cooperative progress if the liberal global order we've been talking about breaks down. I would have thought that would be a total disaster. And yet many of the people who are activists on climate change seem to be determined, the same people who are determined to destroy the liberal global order. But back to the heart of the question, what's the way forward if we're to equip young people, the leaders of tomorrow, enough of them, to actually be able to do that job?
I can't say too much, but I've been quite heavily involved in debates in the UK around questions of academic freedom. And we have, I think, given the level of intensity that we've seen in the UK university system, where vice chancellors and senior university leadership teams have come out and openly endorsed very, very contested ideas, very, very contested theories, and imposed them from the top down as new kind of orthodoxy. It's kind of a creeping illiberalism and a creeping authoritarianism from the kind of mandatory imposition of unconscious bias testing and the open endorsement of ideas around microaggressions, which literally, it's a direct quote from the EHRC, which is the key body involved in making sure equality law is carried through in our public institutions. They spoke, for example, about a lecturer's body language and demeanour. So that's where we are now in the UK university system. Literally, my body language or my demeanour, if it's interpreted going back to post-structuralism, if it's interpreted emotionally, it's seen in a certain kind of way, that is indicative of my oppression or my racism or my kind of something or whatever. So that's where we are now. So we've had to fight a rearguard action. So I've been involved quite heavily in debates on academic freedom, and I've also been involved with a small group that's helped to to some extent guide the academic freedom legislation that is currently going through the UK Parliament as we speak. So I've been very, very heavily involved in that, and I think we've had to fight a rearguard action. If the waves have been crashing across universities' campuses for quite a while, and it went on steroids in the last couple of years, so we've had to sort of almost fight. I don't want to get too kind of flamboyant in my language, but it's almost been like a sort of a counterinsurgency campaign against this creeping illiberalism and authoritarianism. Very informal, very ad hoc. Some support, but we've had to scrabble around and pull informal alliances together to sort of try and help to sort of guide and shape that academic freedom legislation. So I think that's been a key element in terms of attempting to safeguard precious and contingent values in the UK education system, to create a beachhead, if you will, upon which dialogue and civility and respect and reason can re-establish itself. I think that's been a really important thing. So we have now the academic freedom legislation going through the UK Parliament. Once that's passed, then we'll have what's called an academic freedom director who will work directly in what's called the Office for Students, which is the university regulator, who can oversee and ultimately sanction universities if they don't respect academic freedom. So I think that's a kind of a major salvo. In some sense, a major battle has been won in terms of defending or carving out a beachhead upon which that level of academic contestation and those precious values can sit, backed up by regulatory power. It's not my preference to have the state intervene in that way. I'd much rather it from the bottom up in terms of just academic values. But unfortunately, that's not where we're at because of the largely monoculture we have in academia. But then the tipping point for that has been the adoption of these ideas by university administration, the imposition from the top down. That was the tipping point. So we have that going through. And then I think we have, as you said, the Austin in the new university. So maybe we'll see more market diversification in the UK and in the Anglophonic world in general. I mean, at the moment, we do have various universities in the UK that are ranked in certain kinds of ways, etc. But maybe, but in terms of the marketplace of values, they're very much all monocultural. You know, it's kind of very, very, very much kind of. So maybe we'll see. If I were a vice chancellor right now, I would come out and I'd say we are going to place our institution at the forefront of championing Enlightenment values of equality of all before the law, reason, science, and these precious values. And we're going to take academic freedom very seriously. That's what I would do. And come here, and you're going to get a highly critical, rounded education, not monocultural, diverse, a kind of a diversity of opinion and ideas, and really inculcate those kind of values. So maybe we'll see new market entrants like we've in the UK, like we've seen with the University of Austin. Maybe some university vice chancellor will get ahead of the curve on this and really capture those values. So I've answered your question in quite a long form way. But there have been under the radar, there have been the efforts of a very small number of people to really try and shape and defend these precious values in the UK and shape the policy, intellectual, and cultural matrix in a way that defends these values. It's been a long effort. There's still lots more to do, lots more to go. But I think that's been a major battle has been won on that front, and to that extent, the government have been really good. They've done a fantastic job, and my hat off to the Department for Education and the teams there, and the small group of people that I've worked with on those efforts.